Hey guys, Dr. John Michael Salvato here, and you're watching another installment of Inner Alchemy, the science of spiritual living. You know, a lot of people talk about wanting to manifest change in their lives, and while it's sold a lot of books, a lot of CDs and classes, workshops, and as a personal development coach, I've got to tell you, I bristle when I hear people talking about or writing about the law of attraction, because 98% of the time what they write about or they talk about, well, it's bullshit. My mentor, the incredible Mr. Lawrence Thompson, always started his trainings by reminding us that whatever we hear, whatever we see, read, or perceive in this life is 90% opinion, 10% fact. And so he taught us that in the context of our business, because we were out there in the marketplace, and he said, you know, whatever you hear when somebody responds to your marketing message, remember that's 90% opinion, 10% fact. It's just how we're wired as human beings. You see, we are creatures of perception, and our perceptions are, for better or worse, the lens through which we interpret what's going on all around us. And we'll talk about that more in a few minutes. But first, based on what I just shared with you, here's a shortcut that's worked really well for me in creating success in my career, a respectful, loving relationship in all of my relationships, and a rewarding and full life. Anytime someone starts talking to you about your happiness, your success, fulfillment, or insight, and how that can be achieved by tapping into something that's external to you, just smile and walk away. And yeah, that includes religion, channeling space aliens, angels, feng shui, drumming, banging on a gong, wearing a diamond encrusted pasty, or the latest magical socks or underpants. You see, in business, that means adding 3 to 4 people to your personal Facebook friends list is not going to help. Making a list, chasing people, trying to compete with anyone else in the world, all of those things are a waste of time. They're a waste of energy. In relationships, it means that there's no such thing as your other half. No one's going to complete you, except maybe if you're Meg Ryan. And unless you're Jason Derulo listening to this, waking up next to anyone is never going to be the source of happiness or fulfillment. Now, Jason, if you're listening to this, hit your boy up, because I might not be able to bring you happiness, but I could certainly make waking up interesting, just saying. So, guys, everything you need to attract into your experience, everything you need for the right things to happen, already exists within you. It's hardwired into your DNA and my DNA. Now, that doesn't mean that all you have to do is think about a new car or picture yourself on the beaches of the Maldives and magically it's going to happen. Manifestation is the result of a simple, predictable scientific process. You see, first we have to understand something that Einstein referred to as zero-point energy, that unquantifiable, unlimited reservoir of quantum energy from which all matter is manifest. And the nearest thing we can equate that to is the highest form of thought. See, science and medicine has long recognized that within the prefrontal cortex of our brain, the prefrontal cortex responds to data in raw form without prejudice. So if your prefrontal cortex receives the data, the thought, I am successful in life, it accepts that as truth. It'll actually begin a chemical reaction in the brain that mirrors that statement in terms of dopamine levels and serotonin, and in terms of adrenaline, which in turn triggers thoughts and actions and reactions that make it possible for us to manifest that idea as physical reality in our lives. If your prefrontal cortex of your brain receives the thought, I'm ugly, chemicals are released in the body that begin to manifest that reality in your life. If it receives the thought, life's difficult, life's unfair, then likewise, it's going to accept that data, just as it accepted the data that I'm successful. It accepts that data without prejudice. And biochemical reactions that result from those thoughts trigger responses that appear to manifest that idea in your life. So the first step, obviously, is to learn to master your thoughts. So next, what we've got to do is we've got to keep those thoughts in the present moment. You see, if your attention is drawn to whatever happened to you in the past, or more accurately, to what you perceive happened to you in the past, because let's be honest here, what happened in your past, as you recall, was based on your perception, based on where you were. In your experiences in the past, you were right there. And you were on the ground, if you will. But imagine how different your past experiences might have looked if you were always up on a mountain looking down at the situation. You might have seen other things happening outside of your field of vision, right? So what you perceive happened in your past, or what you project as what might happen in the future, because again, let's be realistic, you have absolutely no idea what's going to happen in the future, because the future isn't real. The future is a construct that we make. It's all about the what ifs. So if you're worrying about the past, if you're thinking about the future, you're operating in the world of perception, not in the world of reality. For example, I have a good friend in the business world, and they're always talking to their people, their team, about goals and where they want to be in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. And goals are good, I understand, but they're not somewhere that you want to mentally live. And this person only thinks in terms of their goals. Every single morning, they talk to their entire group about goals. Every single morning, they work with their sales team in their real estate office about what are your goals for today? What are your goals for today? So when somebody says to me, John Michael, I just know you're going to be the #1 LGBT travel agent in the world 2 years from now, or I know you're going to be an incredible teacher, 3 years from now. I smile, but I give no energy to that well-intended statement. And those are well-intended statements. But the reason I give no energy to it is because I know right now, in this moment, this is where the point of power is. And the only moment that matters or is real is this moment. And right now, in this moment, I already am the best LGBT travel agent I could be. I already am the best motivational teacher that I could be. I already am the best coach I could be. Because this is where I choose to live in the present moment. And so I know that I bring my very best to the moment, and that's all that matters. Now, like I said, goals are important because manifestation requires that once we begin to control our thoughts, we take action on them. First, by clearly stating where we want to go and why. And then by charting out the steps that we can take, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, but right now, today, right in this moment, to move one step closer to that objective idea. So think, if you will, about living in New York and making a goal, setting an objective to get to Florida. So you know where you want to go, and you say, I'm going to Florida next week. And so you've made a definitive statement. And why? Because I love the beaches, and I want to see my friends in Florida and my family in Florida. Fantastic. So the next thing you have to do, you've already stated where you want to be, you've already created a why, and now you have to set out and take steps every single day. And you need to be making sure that your steps you take every day are going in the right direction. So if you start from New York and every day you take 2 steps due west, you will never end up in Florida. If you start in New York and you take 2 steps due east, not only will you never end up in Florida, you will surely end up drowning. So you have to begin heading south. Even if you head north, you'll eventually get to Florida, but you'll probably drown along the way there too, or freeze to death. So if I say I'm healthy and joyful, the next step is to decide what I can do right now to demonstrate that health and that joy. Do I choose to wake up and practice yoga, allow the breath to fill my lungs? Or do I immediately plop down in front of the phone or in front of my computer and read the news of the latest Trump debacle? If I say I'm successful and I enjoy an abundant life, Do I take steps right now to bring signs of that abundance to my experience? Do I focus my energy on the stress of unpaid bills, or do I focus my energy on the steps I can take right now to bring myself closer to my financial goals, to my personal goals, relationship goals? See, it's not about blame. And that quite often is what happens when people get all wrapped up in this idea of the law of attraction. It becomes very easy for our egos to say, oh, they're not attracting the right thing, or oh, they're not writing their goals, or oh, they're not working their business or their relationship or whatever. See, the person living in poverty didn't choose their conditions. They do, however, like all of us, manifest the conditions their thoughts attracted. But that's not about blame. See, if nobody ever took the time to help them learn the steps that are necessary to move beyond their circumstances, well, let me go one step further. You know, you say, but what about the poor man, John Michael, living under the bridge, the guy that I pass every day on my way to work every morning? Okay, yes, that is part of your experience. But I just said your experience. So his condition is actually a direct result of your thoughts and actions. So I have to ask you, what have you done to change that man's life, to change that man's experience? You see, if you don't do something to change those things around you that are the point of suffering for others, then you're contributing to the problem, not the solution. So let me tell you a story about an incredible man named Michael Dalby, who is my fiance's cousin. Although I've actually known Michael Dalby's story long before actually I met my fiance. Michael found a painting in the attic at one point in his young life, and used the money from that painting, which turned out to be an old master's painting, sold it, went to art school, and was able to take the money from that painting to start a foundation in India. You see, Michael understood that where he wanted to go in life was to alleviate suffering. And so as a result of taking those steps, Michael's life, which would have been wonderful and successful no matter what, began to take on a new power, a new energy, a new vitality and importance, because he contributed to the world around him by doing what he could to alleviate suffering. And that first began with alleviating the suffering of a few people. And after a while, that began to pick up momentum. More people began to say, yes, that's where I want to be. I want to alleviate suffering. And so his foundation grew. The Cheetah Foundation began to open up orphanages, and it began to open up homes for unwed mothers and schools and programs that make this world a better place by alleviating suffering. So once we've mastered our thoughts, once we've clearly defined our goals, once we are clear about why we're doing something, there's only one step left, and I call that the act of manifestation, with the emphasis on the word act. You see, when we think about the word act, the next step in acting is taking action upon the idea, upon the goal, by asking ourselves, what can I do right now to draw into my experience the things that I see with my mind's eye as being true? It's not enough to recognize that success is your birthright, that health is your birthright, that happiness is your birthright. You know, a wise man once said that he believes that happiness is the object and design of our existence, but if he did not take steps to ensure that, then his life would have been a failure. And so it is for you and me. See, I have a friend who's ready to change his life. He owns his own business. He's very successful. He owns a salon. He's doing very well, but he hates what he's doing. And he's begun to master his thoughts. He uses what's something called the one command to begin attracting the right kinds of thoughts. He does everything he possibly can to stay anchored to the present moment. But here's the thing. Every day he goes into the salon and he does hair. He comes home, he's exhausted, so he eats, watches a little bit of television, reads a little bit, and goes to bed. So how much closer to his goal of being able to travel the world do you think he wakes up the next morning? No closer. Why? Because he did nothing today to move himself closer to his goal. He's in that grind. He's doing the same thing day after day. See, a lot of people try to do things. They try to get involved in businesses selling, network marketing products or real estate or something that is not part of their passion. They try doing something as a means to make money when making money isn't really their goal. It's what they can do with the money or what they perceive they can do with the money. And so that means that my friend isn't living in the present moment, because there's never any fear in the present moment. And if you're not doing something right now to move you closer to what you want to be doing, then you're living in fear. And fear comes from the perception that what happened in the past or what might happen in the imaginary future is bigger than our desire, bigger than our birthright. And so that's, as the cliche goes, that's false evidence appearing real. So right now, today, if my friend reached out to me and said, let's do this, John Michael, and we began the process of creating the framework for his success, then 6 months from now, he wouldn't be in that salon. He would be on a cruise ship or on the beaches of Costa Rica, where he truly wants to live. And that's what can happen for you. No matter what the greater truth of your being happens to be, that's where you can be 6 months from now. And I'll tell you, neither gods nor demons, gurus or prayer flags are going to make it happen. Going to church, going to temple, going to the grove, going on a pilgrimage isn't going to bring you any closer. There's only one thing you can do, and that involves returning to the point of power, which is always, always the present moment. Bringing gratitude to that moment, because I'll tell you, my friends, if you can't be grateful for what you've got right now, there's absolutely no reason to think you're going to be any more fulfilled with more. And then choosing to make it so. Understanding that, as we say at the end of every one of these videos, the best is yet to come. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope if you find yourself in a place where you feel stuck, that you'll allow me or someone to help you explore your options for greater success. Whether that's success in relationships, success in business, success in any other aspect of your life. The point of power is right now. And the gratitude that you should have for being in this incarnation, this life, this experience in which you could be exposed to information and ideas like this. Understanding that the ideas I shared with you are my perceptions, nothing more and nothing less. Jason Derulo, if you're listening, I hope you listen to all of this. And always remember, my friends, the best is yet to come. We'll talk to you soon. Namaste.